Welcome back to DWeb Decoded, a podcast by Filecoin Foundation that explores the intersection of blockchain and the data economy. I'm your host, Aaron Stanley, and today I'm joined by a familiar face whom many of you will know. We have Porter Stowell, who's the former head of community at Filecoin Foundation. And as of a month ago, he's now the CEO of W3.io, which is connecting AI, compute, and automation to make blockchains more intelligent. Porter, it's great to have you here.
Aaron, last time we spoke, we were on a rooftop in Davos, Switzerland, and now we're back. Feels different, though. Feels different.
Yeah. We were doing an actual fireside chat, right? Staying warm up there, which is great.
A lot's changed in the world, in my life, and at Filecoin. So excited to get back and reconnect to my Filecoin roots.
Yeah. Well, you've been gone for a month now, and your presence, we're missing you already. So, but you've got some exciting stuff in the works here. You're kind of progressing on your journey, bringing Filecoin along with you. So we're going to dive into that. So for those who aren't familiar, why don't you take a moment, just introduce yourself, talk a bit about how you found your way into Filecoin in the first place, and then talk about this new role that you have.
Yeah. So let's see. Where do I begin my journey story and my evolution? I worked at IBM for 10 years. With the last 5 of those years, I was a product manager for the IBM blockchain team. This was the foundation of enterprise blockchain. And, when you go back to 2017, IBM was one of the only corporate gigs out there in the industry at the time. It was pretty much IBM and Consensus. So I was very fortunate to get a seat in the product manager chair there. And it's been fun to see how people I used to work with have gone in different directions within W3, and now they're at Coinbase, Hedera, and all over the industry and doing different things. And it's great to see. From there, I didn't go to Coinbase myself, where I spent close to a year working for Coinbase before joining Filecoin. I worked at Filecoin Foundation for the last 2.5 years as head of ecosystem and community, where just this month or last month, I moved on to become the CEO of W3.io. Perhaps because I watched too many inspirational Facebook reels about what you should do with your life. Most of them say, take your shot, live your dream. And I'd say that's consistent with why I had to go for this opportunity. I don't think, I would regret 20 years from now if I never got another shot at the C level, if I didn't take this opportunity.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, the Instagram hustle culture is real, right?
Yes, it works. It's like they're right. They're right. Touch grass, take a shot, be grateful.
So this does seem to be a nice next step for you personally, but it's also interesting because what you're doing with Web3.io seems to really advance a lot of the concepts and the narratives and the products that you were working on with Filecoin Foundation. Obviously, Filecoin is kind of the storage as the foundation of everything. And now with W3.io, you guys are trying to add in kind of compute, automation, and some of these other kind of layers and then productizing some of this stuff. But maybe just talk a bit about like what is W3.io and what are some of the problems like you guys are trying to solve? And then we can kind of tie it back into how this is a kind of a logical next step for kind of productizing Filecoin. You got it.
Lots to unpack in that question. That was the one question to solve all podcasts. let me start with some of your own commentary and observations, Aaron, because I know you're a man about the industry. When you look across the W3 landscape, the Web3 landscape right now, what's the biggest challenge you see?
So look, like we're 10, 12 years into the Web3 game now, and there's a lack of users. Like there's a lack of just real products that people who aren't blockchain fanatics, enthusiasts would want to use. I think that's kind of the point we're at as an industry is like, who's going to use this stuff aside from degens, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And look, I'm 100% with you. And I've been trying to answer this question for the last 8 years. Why? What's missing? And, it's sitting with that question personally, and I'm sure a lot of our audience has sat with that question. I kind of go down to, well, if you want users or if you want utility, what do you need to do? You need to be better, cheaper, faster, more secure than the next best alternative. So how do you How do you get there? That's like on the technology side. And, again, customers buy solutions to problems. They don't buy disparate, disconnected pieces of technology. And I think Web3 has great technology, but not a lot of solutions. And, we're seeing more real solutions come into play with RWAs and, getting the banks involved, or just like all these corporations with their blockchain departments. These pilots are becoming real. And as those prove out viability, they're the front lines of better, cheaper, faster, more secure, but they haven't materialized yet. So like there's a technological problem, which is we have a lot of great tech that frankly just isn't intelligent. And if it's not intelligent, it can't be better, cheaper, faster than the alternative. I'd say the second thing I've noticed on why we're not doing better is more of a business related problem. If you have a solution that is better, cheaper, faster, it is very easy to find an army of people to go sell it. Question for you. Who has a sales force in Web3? And let me define what a sales force looks like. This is someone who has a very compensation structure very similar to what you see in Web2. They take a lower base because they are confident that when they bring new business on, that they will make more money than they could on just a base salary.
Yeah, like there's not a lot of these types of teams floating around. You have a lot of business development partnerships people floating around, but a lot of this stuff isn't exactly sales related. It's like, hey, we should partner with this other protocol to do an announcement or to do, it's not like you're not like going out and selling this solution to clients, right? You're not going out and knocking on doors trying to sell this thing to people. It's more of you're going to different conferences and you're hanging out and you're going to parties and yeah, there's not really the like the Web2 context of a sales force in this industry right now.
Yeah, and you're seeing a proliferation of BD people saying, hey, let's partner, let's make sure our technologies work together. And that's a great first step. You're seeing orchestration layers come into vogue, which is, hey, we can coordinate all these pieces of technology together. And that's a progression, but it's still not better, an end-to-end application that a customer is actually going to buy. Customers buy solutions. They don't buy disparate pieces of tech, nor do they buy pieces of tech that are just stitched together. It needs something more. So now we're getting into like, how do you get to use case specific solutions that work end to end out of the box, that are intelligent, that have all these great pieces of technology connected on the back end that provide real transformational value. And when you ask me what W3.io does, we are in the solutions business, taking an ecosystem first approach to getting everyone in the solutions building game.
So when we're talking about this lack of solutions in Web3, of lack of practical solutions, practical applications that an enterprise customer or a Web2 customer would like want to buy, how are you thinking about that? Like, what are some of the low hanging fruits here that we have to work with as an industry? And I mean, obviously we're biased toward Filecoin, but I think the storage and is a good maybe place to start with some of that.
Yeah. First off, I want to highlight a point where you're not targeting Web2 users versus Web3 users. Ultimately, what you're trying to address is the fact it's a Web2 to Web3 motion. Because even when you're trying to engage Web3 in some of these new solutions, it's because Web3 is still highly dependent on Web2 infrastructure. For example, Web3 alone spends $1 billion in centralized infrastructure per year. And that's because GCP, AWS is super easy. But that's not where they want to be, because they bought into the philosophy of decentralization. But again, there's no better, cheaper, faster alternative for them to do things better, cheaper, faster on-chain versus off-chain. Even when you're talking about Web2, you're trying to show them a similar motion, which is, hey, come to this new world because we can put you on-chain in a way that's better, cheaper, faster. Now, when you look at use cases, I'll talk about, there's a lot of things going on. Predominantly, the two use cases that are in vogue are AI or multi-agent AI and real world assets. And then we'll come back to Filecoin after I talk about both of those. And, we're like at W3, we're working with a customer called Creatorland. If you're not familiar with Creatorland, this is the LinkedIn for social media influencers. So this is a platform that's got about 50,000 users on it. And, they are professional influencers. So every day that influencer gets an inbox, their inbox fills up with anywhere from 100 to 1,000 emails saying, hey, would you like to influence for our brand? As you can imagine, if you're getting that many emails per day, that's a lot of work. So we created a multi-AI solution for them using the ingredients and partners within the W3 ecosystem, where an AI will do deal qualification and negotiation on behalf of that influencer. So an 8-hour day just went down to a 30-second day where they can just hit yes, yes, no, no, yes. And that's 200 hours per user per month for 50,000 users. That's not a lot of monetary value, but man, it's that solution is going to transform their business. RWAs, something that's very popular and but you need compliance and identity. So you're seeing a lot of RWA trading platforms. But how do you they're not compliance experts. They're not doing KYC. So you can bring in other ingredients or partners that have specialty in these areas and instantly get to an integrated solution, but in a way that's way easier, way less frictionless. So you get those verifiable workflows to make sure you're always in compliance. I know at Filecoin, and I see this across other ecosystems, the amount of money being spent on integrations is off the charts. And at the end of the day, when you spend money on those types of integrations, you have a one-off integration that only works between two technologies. It's not scalable. So W3 is in a position where we make integrations a lot more simple and you can get a lot more creative, ultimately letting a developer spend more time on the value creation part and not stitching together back-end technology. And again, you see this in coordination layers are out there, but they only address half the problem. The real problem is solutions that customers want. That's the utility. That's where revenue comes in. That's where this gets to hockey stick growth. So we're going after high potential, easy use cases, if you will, where, for every client we are talking to, we're up and scoping a pilot within one call. And that's it. So I've never been in a scenario where the sales cycle is so short and so yeah, let's go.
So you're finding there's definitely demand for this type of thing that you're talking about, right? So it's not just that, in Web3 land, we've come up with all these kind of fun toys and we're just hoping that there might be, somebody might want to use this stuff eventually. There is a demand on the customer side for these types of solutions if you can build them in a way that's actually usable. That's kind of what you're experiencing
to solve a problem. Otherwise, you're leaving all the complexity and creativity on why that complexity should exist to someone else. And that's where it falls short. I saw this a lot at IBM. They talk about all their new tools. You think back to 2014, Watson. I remember it so vividly. They say, you could do this with Watson. And it's the could that is the key word. No one knows what to do with could. You need to deliver them. Here's how you use this tool, and it will transform your business.
So yeah, that's the issue is that the customer, like you mentioned, they want a solution to their problem, right? The only reason they're going to pay for a service or a product is because they think that this is going to solve the problem that they are encountering. And if they buy this thing and it solves one of their problems, but it just creates a mountain of new problems that they now have to figure out on their own, then that's not really moving a needle on, that's not really something that people are going to want to buy, right? If it's just like I already have so many problems. I don't need to like, and that I don't need to be trying to figure out all these like kind of blockchain integration solutions and things. That's just too much.
Yeah, and Filecoin has learned this for faster than I think any other project out there. When we first started out, and I first started out, it was all about archival storage and selling archival storage. And this is a great piece of innovative technology, decentralized data storage. However, that's not what customers buy. Customers want to buy a data storage solution where they want hot, cold, disaster recovery, anti-ransomware, control over like where their data lives, like ability to move it around easily. Like they want all these things and they want it in a one-stop shop. Selling archival is great, but 10 times more difficult than selling a comprehensive solution. And now Filecoin is going through that metamorphosis into the solution game. And that was what I was working on in Filecoin before leaving. And it was like, how do you get to this solution state? And, my personal journey, well, if this is what I believe needs to occur, then I should go work for the organization, lead that organization into this new future. And what I was able to do is bring Filecoin with me on that journey. And how can I put Filecoin into the solutions game? So what does that look like? Here's a great example. We see a lot of excitement and real end user adoption around verifiable agents. So like, hey, I need to verify that this agent is doing tasks within its governance model and is like consistent with the expectations on how it's supposed to be performed, especially if you get into a multi-agent AI scenario. Verifiable agents becomes really valuable from a transparency and trust point of view. Now, what you're seeing with verifiable agent solutions is they're going into verifiable compute. So like, hey, we need to go, Equity Labs is doing a great job on this, who's in the Filecoin ecosystem. Shout out to Jonathan Doten, Andrew Stanko. We're saying, all right, you need to verify where this compute occurred. Because we have visibility on like the chips, where are you processing the data in trusted, secured locations in the right jurisdictions. So we're getting to verifiable compute. Now, if these solutions in tandem are already being sold to enterprise today, doesn't it make sense to add verifiable storage? How can you have, if you're buying verifiability on the agent and the compute side, how do you not buy verifiable storage? So AI, represents the opportunity, but once you go down the verifiable rabbit hole, you're like, well, what's the point of any of this if I'm not doing verifiable storage as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the place where Filecoin really, like just the narrative around Filecoin and why something like this needs to exist really starts to make sense is kind of the way you just articulated. Like if you already have verifiable compute, you already have these, verifiable agents. It's like, why wouldn't you need the verifiable storage at the bottom of that stack to really make that all seamless, right? And to have a truly, trustworthy, verifiable, whatever the end thing is that you're producing, right? So that's super interesting. I like the way you're framing it, and I like the way of, this seems like a very good way of really trying to productize, the solution that Filecoin offers in addition to some of these other products as well. Kind of you're basically kind of bundling some of these things into one solution, one service. And then maybe this is a good chance to let's pivot over to talk a bit more about like W3.io and like specifically like what you guys are doing, what you guys are offering, and in your marketing materials, you're talking about these concepts of like programmable intelligence, like Prodigy Networks, things of this nature, really trying to kind of fuse some of these concepts like we've been talking about. Maybe talk a bit about just like what do these things look like?
Yeah, I'll start with the Prodigy Network because that's a really big innovation that we're excited about. And all you need to do is follow blockchain's evolution. So Bitcoin started with the ledger. Ethereum came out with smart contracts, which is automation. Chainlink came out with oracles, which is really a way to pull in external data feeds. But these data feeds weren't verified, and they're not actionable. So a Prodigy network is a way to be able to think and adapt to real world situations. on chain. So again, that's automation, event triggers, using AI for smart contract development, and just getting automated flows across multi-party transactions and solutions that get really complex. So if you look at the future of verifiable or just Web3 AI or RWAs, these are going to be complex behemoths, and the only way they can scale is if they have verifiable workflows across all these parties. You have the integration layer or coordination layer to know how these different technologies work together and in what sequence, and maintaining the overall verifiability of the entire solution. Because again, you're trying to extend trust beyond a single provider into the solution level. So how do you get decentralized trust at the solution level? So we're providing the back-end tools for you to be able to get to that state where AI and RWAs can actually scale to reach its full potential, with maintaining the trust and verifiability at every step along the way. And you think about the dispute resolution that can occur in like these complex solutions, where you need to immediately pinpoint who's at fault and who needs to do what. So you're getting that level of visibility too. And we're working already with 60 of the leading off-chain compute providers within the industry. Names like Pith, Plume, Render, Akash, Fluence, Filecoin, Avalanche, Hedera, Eigenlayer. A lot of people are excited to work with us because we're focused on solutions. And the reason why W3 is focused on solutions, because ultimately we're a platform play. But if you want someone to understand and to be excited about using your platform, you need to show them why they should be excited. So we're pioneering the first solutions to show the value, like how we get to value that drives adoption, and how, like, when we get real world revenues into the solution, how the entire ecosystem benefits. And what I loved about Filecoin is I saw this right away. They wanted to be a part of what I was doing. And so this is a way for Filecoin to be a part of the next generation of Web3 solutions that are intelligent and scalable, and participate as a decentralized storage layer in all these scenarios.
And then you mentioned earlier the creator land platform that you guys are working with. I thought that was a pretty helpful example of just what can be done, what can be accomplished when you package all of these concepts together and try to productize it. Are there other potential use cases or other types of pilot projects that are underway that will help folks just better understand kind of tangibly like what you're building?
Yeah. So we're going across use cases. So we're doing multi-agent AI and like creator land. We're working on a RWA compliance solution with Plume and Avalanche, as well as a handful of other network partners within W3, making sure that there's that compliance compatibility with RWA solutions. We're also working on like a crypto payment and automation solution with Ireland Pay, where you're just putting credit card processing on chain and on crypto rails. So like there's a lot of excitement there. But ultimately, we're going Web 2, Web 3. It doesn't matter. All we're focused on is trying to find client opportunities that have transformative business potential. And what we're doing in those scenarios is we're creating beachheads, because ultimately it's not about what W3 can do for these clients. It's about what the ecosystem together can do for these clients. And when I go to someone like Ireland Pay and reduce their fee structure that they charge clients by 50%, future-proofing their business, you're going to tell me they're not going to be open to, some of our AI tools that are being built and solutions being built through W3. They're not going to be open to, all the other things. I think it's about creating beachhead opportunities where everyone in our ecosystem has the potential to expand land. The land is the hard part. The expand is the easy part. So how do we land really great clients in both Web 2 and Web 3, generate value today, get that value going to our ecosystem partners, and then let's innovate from there.
That's great. And would love for you to tell us a bit more just about the roadmap, kind of where you guys are at right now, where are you looking to be in the next 6-12 months-ish? And then, also on the fundraising front, kind of what's the status there? Have you guys raised money? Are you looking to raise money? What's the status and all that stuff?
Yeah, we're raising money, just a small round because we have more demand than we can handle. So we're looking to add dev resources. And what we're trying to do is get as many solutions to market over the next 6 to 9 months as we possibly can. We can talk about, and you can nod your head about, hey, these solutions sound great, Porter, really interesting. But until people see the solutions in action, the cash flows they can generate, how that drives usage for everyone in the W3 ecosystem, they need to see and feel that usage, whether they want to be a passive participant or an active participant. I think once they see what we're building in action, they're going to want to be an active participant, which means they are going to be in the solutions building game and ultimately the solutions selling game. So my goal for W3 is to, get to a point of viability where the entire ecosystem is benefiting in terms of solutions, and we're getting away from disparate pieces of tech, and we're driving real utility and value for the end user. And when I think we have those types of solutions, I'm confident I'm going big, Aaron. I think we're going to be the largest decentralized sales force in all of Web3.
Wow. Okay. I like the vision. Yeah, you have to swing for the fences sometimes, right? So I love that. And so essentially, I mean, if I can maybe just sort of repeat back what I'm hearing you say with all this, it's like, look, like you guys are in the business of basically like really trying to package these existing technologies that all exist in kind of their disparate silos, and your clients will come to you, folks will come to you, be like, hey, this is my problem. And you guys are really in the game of like, okay, how do we take these things that already kind of exist in their own elements? How do we kind of really package this into a solution that matches with what this specific client is needing in this particular instance? And you guys kind of have the relationships on both the technology side. You have kind of you have the sales force, you have the talent internally to kind of just figure out a creative solution to like whatever the problem might be using the pieces that you have available at your disposal. And that's kind of you're kind of like you have the cook in the kitchen, basically. You have all the ingredients and you're like, hey, I want to make, whatever it might be, stroganoff today. Like, how am I going to do this? How much of this am I going to use? How much of that am I going to use? How are we going to kind of structure all this? Is that kind of am I understanding that correctly? Is with like just the general idea of what you guys are trying to do?
Yeah. We want everyone to be in the solution game, and we want as many people as possible to participate. While W3 is taking a heavy hand on solution creation and solution sales, that's not, we're doing this to get the ecosystem kickstarted. But ultimately, it's going to fall down to the ecosystem itself, where they're going to be driving solution building and sales. And where I'm confident is that building solutions that matter will be easier with us than anywhere else in the industry, because we're providing that complexity, multi-party transactional complexity, that make those types of solutions scalable. But additionally, we're solving a business problem where not only are we helping you, amplify your sales force in a way that's not possible currently with like our network design and token model incentives. We're transforming our ecosystem into all sellers of your solution. And then as that value trickles down, I don't think we have yet to find an alternative where people would prefer to work outside of us than, or like ad hoc on their own versus with us.
And then, so if folks want to participate, if folks are listening and they're like, oh, this is super interesting, really want to be a part of this, I like this vision, I like this idea, agree with the thesis. Like if folks want to get involved, like what are the various touch points where they can do that?
Yeah, I would say step one, follow us on both Twitter and LinkedIn, w3.io. Pretty easy to find. I'd say read up more on our, ecosystem manifesto. We're going to be putting out use case videos, other things to get you more familiar with this concept. As someone who's trying to raise money right now, it's hard. It's more than just a coordination layer. It's really trying to solve a business problem around the technology problem. And it's those two in combination. Otherwise, you can reach out to me on either of those two platforms. I'm always happy to engage. Again, we're going to be making a big push for ingredient partners, but mostly ingredient partners who want to be in the solution game. So if you have an idea, if you have a customer you're trying to work with, and you only have you can only deliver on a fraction of their requirements, chances are we have someone in our ecosystem who can help fill out those requirements for you. And that is a solution. And then with W3, like those solutions can get included and sold across multiple use cases and multiple verticals.
Very cool. Well, Porter, exciting stuff that you're doing here. And I love the vision. I love the ambition. I love kind of the fact that you guys are really swinging for the fences with this. And seems like you've got a pretty good team in place, and you've got the right sort of partnerships outside, with Filecoin, obviously, but also the other players you mentioned, to really deliver, whatever the problem is that the customer comes with. Like, you've got, the right solutions in the network to basically, put this all together. So I love the vision behind this. I love what you're doing with it. Wishing you the best of success here over the next couple of months and the rest of this year. And maybe I'll just kick it back to you for any final thoughts. And is there anything, next few months that we should be like looking out for? Can you clue us in any big announcements or anything that might be coming down the pike? And and then I'll kick it back to you, and then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, I think our next big milestone is we'll be launching our test net here pretty shortly, and then we're going to be running solutions through our test net. We have a backlog of pilots that we're looking to run through it, prove it out, and then we'll do a mainnet as a fast follow. Other updates, just looking forward for my next conversation with Mr. Stanley. Who knows where we're going to end up next?
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, we'll have to go for the trifecta here. We'll have to have you back in maybe like 6 months or so to see where you guys are at. So, but very exciting, Porter. Really appreciate your time. Congratulations on the new role and the vision, and wishing you guys all the best of success here in 2025.
Thank you.
And
talk soon.
Thanks everyone for watching. And we'll see you next time on DWeb Decoded.